And we are live. Welcome to another edition of DT Live. Alright guys, I hope everybody is doing well this evening. Bit of a unplanned stream. I just decided here at the last minute to do a stream today, so those of you that are already hanging out in the YouTube chat, let me know how the audio is. Give me a yay or a nay. Alright. And so it's been a busy few days around here. Today is Sunday here in the US, and on Friday, my area basically ended quarantine. So kind of an exciting time. So on Friday, you know, all the restaurants and everything opened up again. The gyms opened up again. And you guys know before the quarantine started, I was working out practically every day. Been going to the gym on a regular basis for about 4 or 5 years. And that's the first thing I did. Friday morning when I got up, I went to my old gym. And, you know, there was only about 6 people in this rather large gym that I work out at. So a lot of people are still not getting out, so that's fine. I never have to wait on a machine now. So also, when again Saturday, it was the same deal. There were just a handful of people in the building. So I think it's going to be a couple of weeks before some people really start moving around. I think some people are still trying to avoid going out in public as much as they can. But at least for me, I have got to get out of the house a little bit. So, not being able to go to my gym was kind of a big deal. So at least I can do that. As you know, because especially not working right now, you know, if I don't actually make myself go to the gym, there's really no reason for me to ever leave this house. And you know, I want to actually force myself to actually get out of here every now and then. Alright, and I do have me a beverage this evening. I went ahead and picked me up a Newcastle, one of my favorites here. Alright, let me get back to the chat here, see what you guys are talking about here in the YouTube chat. I'll try to keep up with it. Let's see, we've got Spring in the chat. He was here first. Confirmed, you were first. Let's see, Tarek Ali, how are you doing? Alright, yeah. Everything is bloat, says Leone. I would agree, but pre-recorded content is definitely bloat. So much work goes into recording video, editing audio, and all of that. You know, I don't do these kinds of live streams that often, but they are a nice change up because I don't really have to do any work, right? There's not much work involved in here. So, however it happens live, it's how it's staying. Now, some people will actually do a live stream and then go back and edit it and post an edited version of it later. I don't do any of that. That's the whole point of me doing a live stream is I'm lazy. Typically, if you see me doing something live, it's because I'm being lazy that day. Alright, everything is bloat, yeah. DT's humor is top. Appreciate that. I try to keep it light and funny. Audio is good. Yay, yay, yay. Awesome. I never know how these live streams are going to go because I don't do them that often. Seems like I always struggle either with audio or video, or something goes wrong every time I start a live stream. Gamer time? I wasn't planning on doing any gaming this evening. I don't game that much. It's rare that I'm in the mood to actually play a game. You know, usually, I don't know, like when somebody mentions gaming, like I never want to play a game. So it's actually kind of nice, those, you know, just handfuls of times a year where I feel like I want to play a game. You know, I typically do live stream it and ask you guys to join in. Because most of the time, yeah, I mean, I get sometimes people in the community, in the Linux community, the YouTube Linux community especially. I know so many other Linux YouTubers, and of course all of you guys that watch my content, a lot of you guys that follow me on Mastodon or support me through Patreon. Hey man, you want to play a game of this on Steam or, you know, whatever, and, you know, I never game with you guys. So, just not my thing. For one thing, typically if it's like a paid for game. I typically don't buy games unless it's something I know I'm going to play a little bit. And for me, it's not worth it for me to pay more than a few bucks for a game because I know I'm probably going to play the game one time and maybe never play it again. Maybe a year down the road, I'll fire it up for the second time. So paying like $30 or $40 for a game, no, I would just be throwing money away for a lot of the kinds of games most of you guys play. There are a ton of good free and open source games out there. And, you know, I probably need to spotlight some of that stuff more. I mean, I know we've played Xonotic on some gaming streams on my channel a few times. I've highlighted Xonotic and asked you guys to join me and play in-game. I've done just me solo doing gaming on Zero AD, which is a real-time strategy game. I've done Zero AD a couple of times on the channel. I've done Battle for Westnoth a couple of times on the channel, which is a turn-based strategy game. But there's a ton of good open source games out there that I haven't really highlighted on the channel. I actually should try to do some more of that. Maybe soon. Might be something I take care of this week, actually. Because I guarantee you, I know a lot of open source games, or I've played a lot of open source games over the years, probably more than most of you guys because I try to stick to open source stuff where possible. So I go out of my way to find a lot of the free and open source games. And some of them are really good. And some of them I don't think too many people know about. Because I've played some games in the past where I mention it, you know, in like community forums and stuff, and yeah, no, I get no response. It's like nobody's ever heard of these games. I think it's worse now that because we have Steam on Linux, nobody's really going out of their way to find open source games, right? Everybody's on Steam if you're a gamer. Right. Let me get back to the chat here. Yeah, Big Pod is in the chat. How you doing? Yeah, your gym is the forest, but you mainly walk or run. Yeah, I've been trying to run a little bit here around my place. You know, just jogging out on the street. So what I was doing the last week or so, I've spent some time jogging a little bit, trying to get kind of back into shape because I knew, you know, this past Friday, everything would open back up. I'd hit the gym again, and I didn't want to just be completely out of shape. I've been running a few miles every day. Oddstrap, he says he just graduated college. Congratulations. No, that's a big deal, especially depending on how many years you went. I ended up spending, 9 years, I think, in college. Of course, I ended up getting a couple of degrees, but yeah, I spent a long time in school. And, you know, it took me a little over five and a half years to get my bachelor's, which actually isn't that unusual. Most people really don't graduate in 4 years. As a matter of fact, many 4-year degrees aren't even really 4-year degrees anymore. Many of what they call 4-year degrees now, they know most people are going to have to take 5 years to finish them because there's so many credits involved. It's one of the dirty little secrets that these universities and, you know, their degree programs, they kind of lie in some of the manuals. Well, I got hit by pre-recorded video bloat since I have to edit a couple of videos, says Big Pod. Yeah, I'm not editing any video today. Matter of fact, because everything's kind of getting back to normal here, I got some things I need to take care of in the next couple of days. I'm probably going to do this live stream this evening, and then I'm probably not going to do anything on the channel tomorrow. At least that's my plan, because I need to take care of some real life stuff. So. And plus, I've been doing a lot on the channel. I've been, you know, putting out a lot of content here recently, so I don't mind taking a day off from the channel. So, probably won't be around much tomorrow. Probably won't even be near my computer. Yeah, so Astro Menace. Yes, I know Astro Menace. Somebody was asking about, that's a 3D space shooter game. Free and open source software. It's in everybody's repositories. Might be one I show on camera one day, yeah. Like if I want to do a video highlighting a few open source games that nobody knows about, Astro Menace might be one because like I said, it's in everybody's repositories. I don't think too many people though have ever heard of it. It's a great game though. Yeah, so Awab or Awab, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce your name. I apologize about that. He says he never catches streams from people, but he's glad he got this one. Yeah, well, we're not doing anything on the channel. Nothing planned anyway. Just thought I'd do one of these Q&A chats with you guys. I mean, if I, for some reason, want to switch over to my desktop and do something, I can always go over here and open something up, show you guys something if I really need to. I'm in Xmonad today. I've been living in Xmonad the past few days. Obviously, I'm on Arch. Actually, I'm on Arco Linux. A lot of you guys still ask me, what my main production machine runs. It's been Arco Linux since April of last year. I bought a new computer April of last year, installed Arco on it when I first got it, and Arco worked, so I didn't bother hopping. So I've been running the same instance of Arco since then. This is Xmonad with Xmobar. My own little Xmobar here. This is Trayer that's handling the sys tray here. I typically don't bother using sys trays. I took the time to put Trayer here because I made these videos here recently about Xmonad, and I know some people are installing Xmonad and Xmobar, and some of you guys are really insistent that you have to have a sys tray. Well, install a third-party sys tray called Trayer, and if you actually go to my GitLab, you will find a little script that actually automatically adjusts the padding here for Xmobar, so it always makes room for Trayer depending on how many icons are sitting in Trayer. One of you guys actually shared that script with me when I made my Xmonad video. It might have been the first one where I said, what if you're leaving i3 to go to DWM, keep moving to Xmonad? One of you guys noticed I had the sys tray in Xmobar, and you're like, hey man, have you seen this script here that automatically adjusts the size of your Xmobar depending on how many icons? And it's brilliant, actually. I hadn't seen that script, but when he shared it with me, I definitely put it to use. Matter of fact, since I don't have anything planned here, let's actually show you that script. So let me cd into .config here, Xmobar. So this is my .config/Xmobar directory here. I have 3 different Xmobar RCs because I have 3 different Xmobars running on 3 different monitors, of course, on my system. But you see this shell script here, Trayer padding icon. Let me open that and show you what that is doing here. So it's basically just a shell script. Now, Xmobar has support for displaying XPM icons. Matter of fact, I have one XPM icon in my bar right now. This Haskell icon, it does nothing. I don't have it set to do anything. If I click it or anything, I probably could hack it in some way so that clicking that icon does something. I haven't bothered doing that. But that's an XPM image, that Haskell logo there. Well, what this Trayer padding script does is it creates a XPM icon of the right dimensions to create this extra padding here at the end of Xmobar. Because Xmobar actually extends 100% of the screen, but Trayer sits on top of it. So there is a blank area on Xmobar that Trayer is sitting on top of. And this script, how does it accomplish that? Well, it creates an XPM icon that's actually in that blank area behind Trayer. It's just a empty icon, though there's no image there. But it creates it at the right dimensions, and it creates these temporary icons basically in your /temp directory. It's actually pretty simple. I mean, when you look at the script, you think, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's how I would go about doing that. But it's amazing, people will have a problem and they come up with such unique ways to solve that problem. Because for me, I would have never even bothered because I really don't care about needing my Xmobar to dynamically adjust its width to fit Trayer in. Because me personally, I wouldn't even run Trayer on my own machines for the most part. But I always think it's cool that, people out there, you guys, so many of you guys have these problems you want to solve, and you always solve it, There are these people out there They have these problems that they want to solve, and then they beg other people to please solve it for them. It's not even a problem that you need fixing, but they want you to solve their problem. I love it when I see people, hey, I had this problem, and you know what? I came up with this really unique and creative way to fix it, and here it is. And I applaud people that do that. I love that kind of do-it-yourself, I'm going to fix it attitude. All right, back to the chat. I know I kind of got away from the chat there, playing with the Xmobar script. Yeah, Necromancer says he misses running after his last hernia. Yeah, no more running. Let's see. DT, your work ethic is admirable. I appreciate that. That's from Technological Waste. I like the username. DT, where do you get your wallpapers? All over the internet. Many of my wallpapers have been collected over a number of years. But some of the places where I find wallpapers, Imager, if you visit 4chan, if you go to WG, it's the wallpaper chan on 4chan. So you can find some good wallpapers there. You know, there's a lot of garbage wallpapers there, but every now and then I'll see something good there. Another good place to find wallpapers is Unix porn on Reddit. Go to the Unix porn subreddit, and you know everybody's posting their riced screenshots and everything. And sometimes you'll see these people with just these amazing wallpapers, and usually they'll post links to them. And then you just grab it. And I've grabbed, I don't know, I've got like 300 wallpapers or so in my wallpaper directory. I've got them all on my GitLab. I just push them all to my GitLab. So any of my wallpapers, you guys, I see it in almost every video. Hey, can I get this wallpaper and that wallpaper? Yeah, they're all on my GitLab. Oh, well, let me just open up my BIFM file manager here. This is my wallpaper directory here on my system here, but again, I've pushed all these wallpapers to GitLab. You will find a wallpaper repository on my GitLab. Yeah, just some of the wallpapers here in this directory. Page down a little bit. Get toward the end. You guys have seen most of these. The file manager here is VIFM. It's a terminal-based file manager. Some of you guys have been asking me about VIFM because I've mentioned it a few times on the channel, but I guess I've never really done a real deep dive into VIFM, mainly because I didn't think there was a need to, more than what I've discussed on the channel in previous videos. But some of you guys, hey man, can you discuss VIFM more? You know, because I'm really interested, and you know, it's like it's a file manager. It does everything a file manager does. Got some built-in Vim support, so like if you want to do some bulk renaming, you know, you can open up every file in a directory in a Vim buffer and do some mass editing or whatever, run macros on it or whatever it is you need to do on all those file names. But as far as, is it anything special as a file manager? I don't know. Like, file managers are file managers for the most part. The reason I like VIFM is because it is so Vim-like as far as the key bindings, hence the name. And it does have pretty good Vim integration, not just being able to open up files in Vim inside of VIFM, but you can also open up VIFM inside of Vim. And that's kind of nice. If you didn't like the built-in file manager in Vim, and you didn't like maybe some of the alternative plugins like NerdTree, let me just open up something in Vim. So if I open up, we'll just open up the xmonad config here. And, you know, NerdTree is kind of okay, but it's kind of bloated in my opinion, and it doesn't really serve any real purpose. And if you wanted a graphical kind of file manager, if you weren't going to use shell commands for copying and moving and things like that, if you actually wanted to pull up a real file manager while working in Vim, why not pull up the one you're always working in anyway. And that's kind of what I do here. So if I do a :vifm, watch what happens. It launches vifm in a split here. So I actually have that set to a key binding, so I actually don't have to type vifm. I think I have it set to leader key VV. Let me go back and double check that. Yeah, leader key VV. But that way, you know, you can pull up the file manager you're used to working in anyway inside of Vim, instead of using this special Vim file manager just while you're in Vim, but the rest of the time you're using something different. That kind of integration, though, is not just vifm by itself. I mean, if you use NNN, it has a NNN plugin too, so you can pull up NNN in a split. I think Ranger also does the same thing. LF does the same thing. I would be surprised if there wasn't a plugin for Midnight Commander. Probably all the popular terminal-based file managers have a plugin probably where you can just open up those file managers in a Vim split. Because you can open up a terminal in a Vim split anyway, so it makes sense that you could just open up a terminal file manager in a Vim split as well. Are you ever going to talk about Redux OS? Probably not. I've never heard of it. So that would be why I haven't talked about it. Don't know anything about it. Sorry. How do I write a window manager? Asks Henry Stevens. How the heck would I know? I'm not a programmer, not a developer. Why do you want to write a window manager? There's hundreds of them out there, but I mean, if you're just wanting to do it just to do it, I don't know. You would what I would probably suggest doing is, depending on the programming language that you're thinking about using, go find a window manager written in that language already and study the code and see what they're doing to accomplish that. For example, if you were going to do something in C, go check out DWM source code. It's less than 2,000 lines of code anyway, so you could easily read the entire source code for DWM. If you were thinking about using something like Python, go read the Qtile source code. You're thinking about learning Haskell or using Haskell, you could read the Xmonad source code. It's not very lengthy either, the base Xmonad package. Just a few thousand lines of Haskell. You could probably easily review that code in a few days and kind of know what's going on. Yeah, Storm Does Linux says, Slackware user. Congratulations. Slackware is pretty awesome though. It's not bad. It's a little too stable of a distribution for me, but you guys know me. I like living on the wild side. Let's see. Yeah, I love your live streams. They are so chill, friendly, and useful, contentful streams, says him. Okay, appreciate you. Somebody is mentioning the Gentoo Wiki. Yeah, the Gentoo Wiki is fantastic. Great documentation, as good as the Arch Wiki. Matter of fact, the Gentoo Wiki was the go-to wiki. Like, it was the place people sent other people to for Linux information. That was the manual everybody was directed to go read. When you were RTFM'd, you were sent to the Gentoo Wiki. But many years ago, what happened, the Gentoo Wiki, there was a severe crash of their servers, and they lost their wiki. They basically didn't have any good backups, and the Gentoo Wiki was lost. So what you're seeing now in the Gentoo Wiki is actually the new Gentoo Wiki, although it's really good. I mean, it's been some years now, so the documentation has been replenished. But after that happened, then, hey, well, go check out the Arch Wiki. So it's how kind of the Arch Wiki became where everybody was sent to. And NetRW is pretty alright. Yeah, the default file manager inside Vim. Yeah, it's alright. I don't mind using it. I often do use it. And if I'm doing something very simple, like all I want to do is open the directory I'm currently in and then open up another file in that directory that I'm currently in. A lot of times I'll just :explore to bring up that default file manager in Vim, and then select the file I want, hit enter, and open it. Of course, none of them are as good as Dired and Emacs. We're talking about built-in file managers. I haven't been in Emacs in a while because I went back to Vim, and I haven't really needed to go back to Emacs for anything, but I still love Dired. Let's open up Emacs. And you know what? I'm going to do space FR here and Doom Emacs, and let's open up something. Let's see. I search for a recent document I edited, like my xmonad config here. I can't remember how I got to Dired. I don't know if I had a hotkey for it or not, but I know I can Alt-X and just type Dired. Space FD. It told me the hotkey. Space FD would have gotten me into the directory editor here in Emacs. Yeah, so I could, go to the README here for xmonad, hit enter, and I could do this. Of course, this README is actually my README for my .files repository where I have my xmonad config. Wow, opening up Doom Emacs there brought back some memories. Like there for a second, I was like, man, this looks really good. Why did I leave this behind? Right? I mean, I hate to make a point here. I know it's not a terminal-based program. I mean, you can launch Emacs in a terminal, but this is the GUI. But I mean, let's open up something in org mode. I got this. Had something in org mode. The orgmode.org. This is the one where I created this document basically for my org mode video. You zoom in here. I mean, the font and everything, the font and rendering, I mean, Emacs just looks really good. It really does. You zoom back out. It's probably a little too large. Yeah, Emacs is gorgeous. Just the way it renders the text and everything. The other thing that's great about Emacs being a GUI program is, the other day when I did that terminal emulator video, and we were talking about Unicode characters and glyphs and colored emojis and things like that, I don't even have to test that stuff with Emacs. Being a GUI program, it handles everything. You don't have to worry about colored emojis because images render just fine in Emacs because it's a graphical program. Yeah, DT, what about Vega Strike? I don't know what Vega Strike is. Is that a game? I'm assuming it is. We were talking about games earlier. Is it free and open source? If it is, I might take a look at it. Let's see. Yeah, Rust does not actually do any garbage collecting, which is kind of neat talking about the Rust programming language. Yeah, Rust is kind of the new hotness, right? Everybody's talking about Rust. And I've got some Rust programs on the system. Alacrity, the Alacrity terminal was written in Rust. And what about making a series about living in Gentoo and using its tools for a month? Would be nice to see some diversity in the channel. What's different about living in Gentoo than living in Arch or living in Debian? It's all Linux. Like, I don't understand what I would be doing that month that would be different than any other month that I've ever used Linux. I'm being honest. Like, you got to give me something more to go on than just use Gentoo. Yeah, I can install Gentoo just fine. You guys wouldn't see any difference as far as me showing the screen and all my window managers and everything. They'd all look and function. It'd be like I didn't even hop. So what would be the purpose of me hopping? And what exactly do you want me to show? If you want to, I mean, I guess maybe you want the install process. I've done videos before on installing Gentoo. And the only difference is, yeah, the updates, but am I going to be recording video of me updating the machine? yeah, the updates are horrible. That's why I don't run Gentoo. Yeah, because everything, of course, is compiled from source. And the updates can take forever. It's just a waste of my time. I just want binaries. I get some of you guys may need that stuff and play with the use flags and everything. You guys find that useful. I don't. That's why I don't use it. I wouldn't mind doing something on the channel about it, but I don't know. Again, when you say use Gentoo for a month for the channel, for what? to do what with? I'm not exactly, again, you got to tell me what kind of content you want there. Because pretty much every Linux distribution is the same. Everything you've seen me do on this instance of Arco Linux, as far as all my window managers and configs and the command line and the terminals and Vim and Emacs and all that stuff, literally is the exact same thing on every single Linux distribution. You would never know I was running Arch if I didn't have this Arch wallpaper. Like I could lie to you guys and tell you I'm in Ubuntu today. You'd never even know. Or Fedora, or SUSE, or, you know, like literally you would never know. And the fact that I've got all my configs saved to GitLab, and when I distro hop, I literally could go to any distro and be back up and running within, you know, an hour. And my desktop and look and feel and function and everything would be 100% exactly the way I left the other distro. It's just the same. You guys focus too much on the distros. Other than the installation process, which really they're all about the same. I mean, yeah, some of them take a little longer than others, but really once you get it installed, are any Linux distributions really that different from the next? Not really. You can't really tell the difference other than package management. You know, you're using apt in Debian, you're using pacman in Arch, you're using a merge in Gentoo, DNF and Fedora. But other than that, I mean, is that a big difference? Yeah, Rust is like the #1 loved language. Yeah, it's getting a lot of good press right now. As far as the #1 loved language, yeah. If you're talking about popular languages, the most popular languages right now on GitHub, if you want to use that as a metric, but it's a good place to use as a metric because so many projects are hosted there. Their source code is there. You know, it's got, I think Python and JavaScript are the #1 and #2 most used languages on GitHub, I believe. I'm not exactly sure what order, but a lot of people love Python, a lot of people love JavaScript. And of course, right now, Microsoft, the owners of GitHub, really love JavaScript. They love NPM since they just bought it. Yeah. Yeah, why bother with distro reviews then? Exactly. That's been my whole point. That's why I pretty much quit doing them a couple of years ago. Why is your channel called DistroTube if distros don't matter? Good point. Yeah, SUSE is such a weird name. Well, it's an acronym, I believe, anyway. So, I mean, GNOME is a weird name, too, when you think about it. It's an acronym, too. Not the word gnome. It's not the English word gnome. It's GNOME, and it's meant to be pronounced that way. Yeah, when will you update your Gentoo video? Yeah, I don't know. Probably need to do an updated Arch install soon, though. Because that one is kind of bugging me, because I get so many people messaging me about that Arch install. Because the Arch install changed right after I posted that video. So I've got, you know, a couple 100,000 views on that video. And most of the comments, and these thousands of comments are, hey man, I followed your video, this don't work. So well, blame the Arch guys. They wanted to break my video. They saw me post that video and it was getting a lot of views and a lot of noobs were going to Arch, so they changed the install process. So The install process for Arch is not that different than my video. It's just some of you guys that were watching my video and you were trying to do it exactly step for step what I was doing. And if you go back and like read the show description or the pinned comment of that video, I basically tell you, hey, you got to do some extra steps here. But some people follow along with the video, and as soon as they get to something that isn't right, they immediately post a comment, hey, it's broken. It's the end of the world. Where if you just read the comments, it's like you're the only one that this didn't work for. If you read the hundreds of other comments where people also couldn't get it installed because, again, the install process changed, you would get the information you need. Yeah, I've been looking for a window manager based on JavaScript. That's Joel Eisner there. Joel, I don't know of any window manager based on JavaScript, like this written in JavaScript. Of course, I haven't looked for one. Like you say, you've been looking for one and haven't come across one. But I mean, I like looking at different window managers. I've never come across anything that was written in JavaScript that's a window manager. Yeah, the only difference is Hamza is yeah, now you have to install Linux and Linux headers. Yeah, you have to install Linux in Arch Linux now. That's the big step that everybody's missing on my Arch Linux video. Because when I made that video, you didn't have to install the kernel. That was part of the base package when you installed. You did the Arch base. They removed the Linux kernel from the base. So now you have to do this extra step where you have to do a sudo pacman -S Linux to install the Linux kernel. Otherwise, when you finish the install process, you don't have a kernel on the system. You reboot the machine, and all you get is a grub prompt, probably. And you're wondering, hey, what's going on? Well, you're missing the kernel. Install the kernel, reboot, and you should be good. The most surprising part of that video, though, that Arch installation video, because in that video, I think I used Nano or Vim to edit some files. I think I used Nano, because I knew most of the people watching a Arch installation video are kind of newer to Linux users. I mean, that's why you're watching the video. You're not really sure what's going on. So I think I demonstrated everything in Nano. And Nano was part of the base package for Arch. They removed Nano. So now you have to also install Nano if you want a text editor other than VI. Because I think VI is the only editor that's part of the base package. So if you want Nano or if you want Vim, which I would want Vim, because I don't like using plain VI. I usually go ahead and install proper Vim. Yeah, DT, do you have a home server? No, I don't have any home servers. All my servers are remote. I don't have anything here at the house. I mean, I guess I could do something with maybe a Raspberry Pi or something. I do have a Pi. But I haven't really set it up to do anything. I don't have any kind of NAS or anything here. Mainly because I just haven't had a need for having a server here. Not that it wouldn't be fun to just play and tinker with, but a lot of times, unless I have a real need for something, I don't bother. Otherwise, that server that I set up that I don't really need, it would just be bloat. Yeah, I just said a home server would be bloat. Yeah, DT, because there are kernels like the Zen kernel out there. Well, of course, that's why they do it. It's because so many people are going to want to install the Zen kernel. Where instead of just installing the generic kernel, and that one person out of 1,000 that wants to install a different kernel other than the generic kernel, make that guy go install his own kernel. Let's just take the kernel away from everybody, right? Yeah, Timmy says, do you still use the Vim Wiki? If so, how do you like it? I've been playing around with the Vim Wiki. I don't use it that often. I'm not much for note taking. I've told you guys this is when I did my Joplin video and some other stuff about note taking, in the history of the channel. I show you guys some of those note taking apps, CalCurse, things like that, appointment apps. I don't use any of that stuff. Org mode and Emacs. You guys were like, man, org mode. If there's anything that's going to keep you on Emacs, it's going to be org mode. And org mode's great. Fantastic. I don't use it. Like, I don't find the need for taking notes, for outlining, for scheduling, appointments, things like that. I've never been that person. It's kind of like the content on this channel. I don't make show notes. I almost never do like show notes for anything. Like, I'm going to make this video today on this topic, and I take the time to actually plan it out. I never script anything. Nothing's ever scripted, practically. It's very rare I actually take the time to script something. But even just planning out what I'm going to talk about usually, I don't even do that. Oh, I know it's a little weird because I've got, hundreds of videos I've made. And a lot of people assume, well, I got the show notes for it all somewhere. No, there's no show notes. The only ones, I typically would take the time to really outline and do some show notes, ahead of time before recording. If it was going to be something massive, like that video I did that was, it must have been like an hour and a half in length, describing the various tiling window managers that I'd ever used and contrasting and comparing them all. Like, I had to plan for that thing. And it took me like 8 hours to record and edit that video. So yeah, I didn't want to just fly by the seat of my pants and start recording and hope everything turned out all right. I kind of planned that one out a little bit. That's just one that comes to mind where, yeah, I put some thought before actually starting to hit the record button. But most of them. Matter of fact, let me just look through my my video history here. It would actually be fun to see which ones I actually planned out. This 30-minute rant of me comparing and contrasting Vim and Emacs. And I mean, you can tell that wasn't exactly scripted. It turned out to be a pretty decent video. I was actually happy with the way that video turned out. You can tell, especially the really lengthy rants where I just ramble and I go in all kinds of different directions. They're not scripted in any way. Getting started with Xmonad the other day, that was pretty obvious that I didn't script that thing. I mean, all the mistakes and everything as far as getting errors in my Xmonad config and everything. And it was great. I loved getting all that on camera. I know a lot of people, hey man, that's weird. You're like the only YouTuber that I see, you're programming something and you're getting errors and you got to go read the documentation. Why don't you do a second take? Why are you even leaving that in the video? Man, that's the best part of the video. Me getting those errors the other day in that Haskell file, programming Xmonad. I promise you, I just saved hundreds of people that are trying Xmonad right now because of me. I just saved hundreds of you guys a ton of time. Because you were going to get those exact same errors, that variable not in scope error, because you were calling upon this command you found in somebody's config, but you didn't import the module that gives you the ability to use that command. Trust me, I was very happy I made that mistake on camera and that was in the video. Matter of fact, I actually like it if I happen to make a mistake. So many of these videos, I think they would be poor videos if I did everything right, because that's not useful. These people that try to do everything so neat and polished, and that is not as useful as seeing somebody struggle with something. Oh, I got this mistake. Well, let's figure it out. And then watching the process of somebody figuring it out. Yeah, how do you feel about FreeBSD? It's all right. I haven't played with FreeBSD that much. I mean, I've installed it a few times over the years. OpenBSD, somebody was asking me about having installed OpenBSD, but it's not something I could use. Right? What I do, I'm a desktop user. I'm not a server sysadmin kind of guy, right? I need a desktop operating system that can do all of this for the YouTube channel and run everything that I need to run. OpenBSD ain't gonna be it. So, I'm sure it's a fantastic operating system for what it's designed for, but I couldn't use OpenBSD. NetBSD as well. I get people occasionally asking about NetBSD. You got, sometimes I get people, hey man, you really should wipe out Arch and install OpenBSD and live in OpenBSD. Yeah, that would be great. You guys would not get any content from me probably the whole time I was running OpenBSD though. So I don't know what you expect to get out of me doing that, you know. Yeah, Haiku is the same. Haiku is really good. Really good. Obviously, I couldn't install Haiku, not on my main production machine. I've installed Haiku plenty of times on laptops, and it's nice. It's actually not bad. Wi-Fi works out of the box on Haiku, or at least it did the last time I tried it, the most recent version. And it's got the LibreOffice suite in the repositories. It's got Blender in the repositories. Haiku's really good. You're not going to get any kind of video drivers and encoders. You know, if you were an NVIDIA user, you're not getting NVENC. You know, those AMD and Intel guys, you're not getting VA API. You're not getting any of that kind of stuff. Not on Haiku. So without all of that kind of stuff, nobody can install Haiku and then produce video content like this. It's just not possible. That's the problem with these alternative free operating systems, not Linux, but the other free operating systems. I couldn't do this if I was on any of those others. Linux is very mature. Compared to BSD, Linux is light years ahead. And then you talk about things like Haiku. We can't even discuss Haiku right now, as far as trying to live in Haiku. What do I think about Bedrock Linux? Never played with it. It's not something that interests me. I don't understand the point of it, to be honest. And that's the one that you can use package managers from a whole bunch of different Linux distributions. Like I can use the Debian repos and the Arch repos. You know, I don't see a need for that. Especially if you're on a good distribution that has big repositories like Debian or Arch. I've never run Debian and thought, man, I really need something from the Arch repo. And I've never run Arch and thought, man, there's this one package in the Debian repo I wish I had. You know, how often does that happen? It's just a weird distribution. Somebody was asking me about ClearOS. Don't know anything about it. Let's see. Have you ever found an exceptionally good use for the programming capabilities of a window manager that is configured in a programming language instead of a file? So, not exactly sure. Let me reread that. Have you ever found an exceptionally good use for the programming capabilities of a window manager that is configured in a programming... Okay, I see what he's saying. He's basically saying something like Qtile that's completely written and configured in Python, or Xmonad that's, you know, written entirely in Haskell, configured entirely in Haskell. Have I ever come across a situation where they're better than something that's in a friendly syntax like i3? Absolutely. Yeah, that's an easy one to tackle. It's because you're essentially editing the source code for these files anyway, where you're not actually editing the source code of i3. So my Xmonad config here, I mean, technically it's this one file, xmonad.hs is the config file, but if I wanted to, I could practically write anything that, I mean, I could write some functions in here that overwrite some of the default functions in some of the source code and some of the other Haskell documents on the system. You know, you can't do that in the syntax for i3. It's very limited. That new user syntax that i3 uses was designed just to give you some configuration options. That's all it was written to do. It's very limited in scope. There is no limitation to what I can do if I want to take the time to really properly write some Haskell right now in my xmonad config. Or Python in my Qtile config, or even Lua in my awesome config. I don't know any Lua. I mean, I know enough to edit my awesome config. But yes, i3, the config for i3 is definitely limited. Because it has to be written in that syntax that i3 is using, and that is not a proper programming language. There is just this very tiny amount of commands that you can actually put in that config. You can't like create your own custom functions and things in that config. The way you could, again, if it was written in a proper programming language, a traditional programming language. In fact, I haven't actually opened my i3 config in years, probably. Like I don't like i3. I barely use it. Every now and then I'll log in just to make sure this thing is running. But I mean, this syntax here, it's not really shell script, and it's definitely not Python or Perl or Lisp or any typical kind of programming language. So you have, this bind sim command. I don't even know what that is. It's a special command that the i3 guys came up with basically to allow you to create a key binding in a simple kind of format, where in Haskell to create a key binding, I guess it's a little more complicated. The format for creating a key binding in Haskell is actually, you create this very lengthy list of key bindings. I called mine my keys. You can name it whatever you want. And then the format is the actual key binding. So in this case here, this is super control R. What does that do? It runs the command spawn xmonad -- recompile. It recompiles xmonad. It has to be in this format, and then comma, and then the next key binding, and there's hundreds of key bindings here, all in this one list here of my keys. And then later in the main of xmonad, main equals do, somewhere in here, the very last thing in the main is, hey, my keys. So that's basically how the Haskell works. The i3 guys made this simple. Bind sim. Right? They created this very new user-friendly way of creating your key bindings, where your grandmother could look at that i3 config and figure out how to create some custom key bindings and edit the key bindings that are already there. But again, this is very limited. I mean, they didn't create too many of these custom commands like bind sim. I mean, they created just enough so some basic configuration options in i3 are available to you. But again, it's not like with Haskell and xmonad, or anything I can imagine writing in Haskell, I can put in that xmonad.hs file, and it's gonna work. Now, you could always edit the actual source code of i3. You couldn't edit your config. You'd have to dive deeper into their actual source code. I don't know what the source code for i3 is written in. Probably C or C++ or something like that. But at that point, if you were taking the time to do that, I would probably just switch to a different window manager anyway, if that's what you were wanting to do, really hack on the source code. I would switch to a window manager that was more friendly to folks that want to do that, like DWM or xmonad, Qtile. Hey DT, did you see AMD went closed source for the Radeon Raze 4.0? Yeah, I wish I could say I was shocked. I've not been happy with some of the decisions AMD has made. But, I mean, I haven't been happy with the decisions Intel has made. I haven't been happy with the decisions that NVIDIA has made, especially when talking about video cards. Oh. Yeah, DT, you can do a lot of stuff in Lua, yeah. Yeah, Lua is a very powerful language. I've never taken the time to really take a look at Lua. As far as I'm lost anytime I open up a Lua script. I'm just completely lost. Oddly enough, I'm more comfortable in Haskell. I don't really know that much Haskell, but I kind of know how Haskell works. Like when I open up a document and it's written in Haskell, I can immediately identify it. Oh, that's Haskell. Where even Lua, I can't really tell you it's Lua when I first open it up. It's just the strange alien, writing. Yeah, do I use a display manager? Steven was asking. Yeah, I use LightDM. There's no point in me not using a display manager. I've got so many window managers installed on my system. I got like a dozen different window managers. Yeah, I'm going to use a display manager. I'm not using StartX. I'm not using the Exinit RC and all that. Now, that's great for those of you that only have one window manager on your system. Yeah, because you don't want to have the bloat of having a login manager on your system, right? Because there's only one thing to log into anyway. Well, for me, it's a little different. I've got several different window managers. But I want a login manager. Yeah, Herbst, Luft, and BSPWM, yeah, they use shell scripting. Yeah. Yeah, their config files are basically bash scripts, although you could probably use other languages. I don't think technically they have to be bash. You could probably write your BSPWM config in, Python or Lua or something if you really wanted to. I don't think it would really affect things. But for what those scripts do, like the BSPWM scripts, it's pretty simple stuff, basic stuff you're doing anyway. Yeah, I would just use shell scripting for it anyway. Let's see, what shell do you use, DT? I am using the fish shell at the moment. I've got bash, ZSH, and fish all installed on the system. Typically, I'm in fish when you guys see me doing stuff, unless I'm shell scripting or doing anything that involves shell scripting, then I'll switch to bash. For example, say I wanted to, let's think of, let me CD into this folder here. I've got some dmenu scripts here. What was the one I did the other day? I don't even remember. Oh, that was the man pages one. In that video, I ended up doing that video where we were talking about how to generate a random man page. I did that video in bash. And the reason I did that is because the fish shell doesn't really use the same syntax as bash. So if I would have done some of this in fish on video, 99% of the people that were watching that video would be trying to run some of those same commands, and they wouldn't work. So I switched to bash for that video. But that's one that immediately popped to my mind because I remember I made the conscious decision. Actually, I actually didn't plan it until right after I hit the record button and I opened a terminal and I realized fish is not going to work for what I'm about to do. I mean, it would have worked, but I would have to do some weird syntax. For example, in a standard bash command, a lot of times you'll do $symbol and then, run some command and some options and some flags, and, things like that. And fish does not like that. Fish hates the $symbol. It never uses it. You'd have to get rid of the $symbol. And some of you guys would be trying to follow along with my scripting. If I was doing it in fish, it wouldn't work in bash because bash wants that $symbol. It's got to have it. So, yeah, fish scripting is weird. I would never script anything in fish. But sometimes you're already in fish and you just want to do something interactive in the shell. And kind of knowing the quirks, you know, knowing not to use the dollar symbol. If you do an if statement, don't include if then. Don't include the then. Doesn't want it. Also, don't close your if statement with fi. Close it with end or done. No, it's end. Same thing with the case statement. Don't end it with esac. End it with end. All the block statements. They just are ended with the word end. So why switch? What are the advantages? The advantages are not anything to do with scripting. That's not why people switch to fish. People switch to fish for some of the syntax highlighting and the completion. You know, some of the plugins available, just navigating around on your system and things like that. You want to actually use it as an interactive prompt and actually do some scripting. What most people probably do, if you're a fish user, and this is typically what I've been doing here in the last couple of weeks, I just type bash and switch over to bash. And then do what I want to do in the bash shell, you know, if I'm typing actual bash commands. And then when I'm done with that, I type fish to get back to fish, or exit to exit out of bash back into fish. Yeah, Emacs or bloat. Use Max. Well, Emacs is a little bloated. You are not lying about that. All right, guys. Yeah, DT is spot on about fish. I mean, fish is a great shell. It's just not, if you're one of those people, here's the thing about fish. And people either love it or hate it. Fish is probably not for somebody that is a serious programmer or serious developer. And I know some people are going to say, well, I'm a programmer, I love fish. But if you're that kind of person where you're constantly scripting, and scripting at the command line, not actually writing a script, but, you know, opening a terminal and actually doing some scripting, you know, and writing some commands and whatever it is you're doing, you know, doing an if statement, like, you know, whatever it is you're about to do, none of this would work in fish, right? You got to actually type the word bash, get over to bash, and then write your if statement, get the output for it. And then when you're done with bash, hit exit. When you hit exit, you go back to fish because fish is still there when you launched bash. That's typically what you got to do. But you probably don't want to be doing that all the time anyways. Like, so if you're regularly running these shell commands like that, you probably should just use bash. I think fish is for the more casual shell user. Does that make sense? I know it seems, most people probably assume it's the opposite. Like it's the hardcore users that go to these alternative shells and like fish. I don't know. I think probably, again, if you're a serious programmer or developer, you're probably sticking to bash a lot of the time anyway. Bash is an ugly language anyway, in my opinion, says Dingo. Yeah. As far as, yeah, I would agree. As far as how ugly it is, how readable it is, yeah, it's pretty horrible. Yeah, I can't fault you for that. Bash is not POSIX compliant. Okay. But, you know, pretty much if anybody writes a bash script, any system that's probably going to run that script is going to have bash installed on it anyway. There's very, very few Linux systems I've ever come across that didn't have bash pre-installed on it. Even if it wasn't the default shell on the system, bash should be there somewhere. Matter of fact, if you're running a distro and bash is not installed, like out of the box for you, I would file a bug report because I would consider that kind of egregious. Bash is 100% POSIX compliant. Yeah. Well, I've heard it both ways. Regardless of how people are measuring this POSIX compliance, though, both Bash and ZSH, if they're not 100% POSIX compliant, they're close enough. Bash and ZSH are good enough. And again, Bash is pretty much on every system anyway. If you write a shell script in Bash, like with the Bash shebang, I promise you it's going to work for everybody. DT, love the channel. I've been trying to get the awesome window manager on my production machine. Any plans to do a video building an awesome config from scratch? I've thought about it. So people have been asking me to do the same thing I did with basically taking a look at Qtile, doing a look at Xmonad recently from scratch. I did the awesome, getting started with awesome. Have you checked that video? That was from Strife 7. I did awesome from the beginning, basically. I didn't go very deep into it. Of course, I didn't go very deep into Xmonad. There were some people the other day. Let me get back to my browser here. Sit up here and go to the monitor that had my browser on it. So this video I did the other day. This video is about 43 minutes long, getting started with Xmonad. And that video was great. I put some serious information, right? I mean, we spent some time. I showed you guys a little Haskell even in that video. And I had people, hey man, are you going to show us more? You're going to show us this? You're going to show us that? I had one guy actually comment, hey man, can you do a comprehensive video showing me everything that is possible with Xmonad and with the Haskell programming language? Now just think about that. The little bit that I did on camera the other day was 43 minutes. How in the hell could I possibly show you every module and library available in the Haskell programming language? I would have to record literally hundreds of hours of video for, like, I don't understand the questions sometimes these people ask. Like, I would be embarrassed if I asked some of the questions some of these people ask. Like, hey man, do you mind spending the next 2 years, 8 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week, recording about every module available in Haskell? Could you do that for me? No. Sorry, dog. Can't do that. But yeah, I may go in more depth where we left off with that Xmonad video the other day. I may do some more. Same thing with the awesome video. Where was the awesome video? I'm assuming Strife probably didn't see it right here. Getting started with the awesome window manager. Made that a little more than 2 months ago. 33 minutes in length there. And that was basically what I did with the Xmonad video. Same thing. I installed awesome on a Ubuntu VM. Started from scratch with the default config. And, just kind of hacked on it a little bit. Changed a few key bindings. Played with the panel, maybe. I don't remember if we actually played with the panel or not. Talked about how to auto start programs. That's usually the first thing people want to do when they install any window manager is you got to figure out how to auto start your compositor and whatever it is you're drawing wallpaper with, nitrogen or FEH or whatever. Any kind of systray applets you want to launch, network manager, things like that. It's usually the very first thing people want. It's the auto start information. Then the next thing, how do you change the key bindings? How do you change that default terminal from Xterm to whatever it is you happen to like? Once you get that stuff, then most of the rest of this stuff you can figure out on your own. Because at that point, you can open up a web browser, open up a terminal, and you can do a little research. Back to the chat for a second. Yeah, any plans to play Xenotic in the foreseeable future? I'm sure we're going to play Xenotic again. It's on the system. I keep Xenotic installed. We may play again soon. Maybe in the next week. Don't hold me to that. We'll have to see what's going on. But if I feel like playing something, we'll play. We'll have another community game night. You guys can join me in a game as Xenotic. We'll do it live. Yeah, that YouTube page is blinding. Why no dark mode? I've never really cared for the dark mode in YouTube. Doesn't really bother me, though. Of course, I'm not watching it on screen. Not like you guys are watching it. Yeah, you could create a series on Xmonad. I may do 2 more videos on Xmonad, 2 or 3, I don't know. It may end up being a series, but it's not going to be, you know, can you describe every module that I can import? You know? I mean, what was this guy? It's just such a weird question. I get questions like I'm going to go to Haskell.org. I'm going to go into the documentation, and it's massive, the documentation for Haskell. And we're going to, let's see, where can I go? The Haskell Wiki. Let's start there. Let's see. Library documentation. I think that's, and I'm going to scroll. This is all the libraries available in Haskell. Yeah. Yeah, that video won't be coming. I scratched that off the to-do list. Matter of fact, I should make a list of things definitely I will never do. I will never describe in depth every single library in any programming language. Yeah, you need to have a wage to do that. Yeah, I'd have to be getting paid something to do that. I'm sure the Haskell guys would love it, though, right? There is a huge Haskell community out there, actually. A lot of people love Haskell. Oddly enough, it would probably get views. I mean, people would probably watch that content. Hey DT, I can't get myself to stay away from GNOME longer than 2 days. How can I get off my love and joy and convince myself to actually use a tiling window manager? Well, a lot of it is not necessarily GNOME. It's not like you're tied to GNOME. You could have went to any desktop environment and used it for a while. You wouldn't want to get away from it. A lot of it's just change. That's the problem. And how do you get used to, or how do you break yourself of that habit of just sticking with something or being afraid to change to something new? You got to get in the habit of constantly trying stuff out, switching things. I know it sounds strange, but that's why it's no big deal when I install different window managers. Window managers I've never heard of. You guys could give me one right now. I could install it. I could live in it, and I would be okay. Why? Because I've hopped to so many different things anyway. I'm used to change. I'm used to getting into something new. Where if you're not used to that, a shock to your system. You have to train yourself basically to do this. It's like the people that say they have no willpower because they can't make any important life changes. They can't quit drinking or smoking, or they can't diet properly, or they can't work out. They can't, whatever it is they're trying to fix in their lives. I can't do any of this stuff, but they've never tried. And that's why they can't do it. And all it takes is you to do one thing. Like, I'm going to make this one change in my life. For me, you guys know, if you've watched some of my content on the channel, typically, most of the videos I typically record them in the daytime, and you don't always see it on camera, but I drink a lot of coffee. Coffee's my go-to drink. So caffeine would be something hard for me to give up. But I promise you, I could tell you guys on camera right now, I'm going to quit drinking coffee for the next 2 months. And I'd do it. Do it no problem. I know I could do it. Why? Because I've done stuff like that before, where I just give up something. Any of you guys ever done any fasting, or, whether for religious reasons or just to just to do it, even regardless of your religious affiliation. That's something you guys really should do. Think about something you really love. Something that you could give up, though. So don't say your wife or something, right? But think about something you really enjoy doing, or something that's especially something that's a habit for you, something you do often. Yeah, and caffeine, which some people are talking about coffee in the chat. Yeah, that's a tough one. You guys that really love coffee, tea, soda, yeah, just give it up for a month. For no other reason. You're not going to give it up permanently. You can come back to it in 30 days. But just give it up for a month. Why? Just for the point of it. Just to show you that you can do it. And then later in life, you may come to another point where you need to give something up. And that's a lot easier because you've done it before. Mentally, you know you can do it. The reason you say you can't do it is because you've never done it. But once you've done it, then you know you can do it. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I love water and drink it too often, yeah. Yeah, that's typically one of the reasons why I drink so much coffee. Is because the only thing I drink is 0-calorie drinks during the day. All I drink is water, black coffee, unsweet tea. That's all I drink. Many times when I sit here at the desk and I'm about to do something, I have a cup of coffee. Or a bottle of water. So you guys see me drinking a lot of bottled water too. Here in the evening, when I'm just relaxing, I do allow myself a guilty pleasure. Right? But other than that, yeah. As a matter of fact, the reason I drink water, black coffee, and unsweet tea, getting back to giving up things. I started doing that, it was like 2003, 2004. I was in graduate school at the time, and I was broke. I'd run out of money, my student loans were delayed, I was having problems buying groceries, and I didn't have any sugar. I just started drinking my coffee and my tea without any sugar, because before that, I'd always put sugar in my tea and coffee. I was like, damn. I can't afford to go buy sugar. You know what? I'm just going to drink it black. I'm just going to drink black coffee. And that's what I did. I never went back to putting sugar in it. So, but even something simple like that, so many people, if you're a coffee drinker and all you've ever done is put cream and sugar in your coffee, the idea of drinking a cup of black coffee seems crazy to you, right? No, just make yourself do it. And then once you've done it, you're like, hey, you know what? This ain't that bad. Oddly enough, it's strange for me to go back to, like, if somebody gave me a cup of coffee with sugar in it, that doesn't taste right. I don't like that. Yeah, DT, can you do a Windows 10 review? No. No Windows content on this channel. I haven't used Windows in a very, very, very long time. I don't know anything about Windows 10. So. DT, I can do it, but I have never willingly gave up anything that is important to me, but I sometimes just forget. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm telling you guys, it really is a life changer. Just quitting anything, fasting, or whatever it is you want to do. Pick something, maybe once a year or twice a year. Pick something. I'm going to give this up for 30 days. Do it in the summer. In the winter, I'm going to give up this for 30 days. Something that's tough, something that's challenging, And here's the thing. The first couple of times you do it, it's challenging. But the more you do it, the more you know you can do it. You can do it. Then it just becomes, I can do anything, right? I can give up anything. I think a lot of these people that think they don't have the kind of willpower to do what they need to do, not that they don't have it, it's just they haven't even tried, right? Until you actually try. I'd give you a great example. Smoking. Many of us know people that have smoked their entire adult lives. I'm sure. We all know people like that. And many of those people have tried to quit, say they've tried to quit, never could quit, and they just can't. They can't quit. And many of those people, as they get older, have serious health issues. Maybe they have heart attacks or strokes or cancer or whatever it is. And oddly enough, when they have these life-threatening illnesses where, you know, they're on the brink of death and the doctor tells them, like, the next cigarette you smoke can kill you because, you know, your heart's giving out or whatever, they quit immediately. They quit immediately, right? They don't even think about it. You know, so it's not that they couldn't have done it before. It's just they never really tried. But once they're properly motivated, yeah, absolutely. It's not an issue. And that's an addiction there. I mean, that's because it's physical, you know, nicotine. That's a tough one to break. But even that, when people are properly motivated, they can drop it cold turkey and never look back. Unfortunately, the proper motivation a lot of times is, you know, serious medical issues. Oh my goodness. Jan, or Jan, I'm not sure how you pronounce your name there in the chat. I'm assuming it's Jan, though. Yeah, smoking is pointless. It doesn't even make you feel good, unlike weed. Okay, you're gonna get the video demonetized there, Jan. Let's not talk about the wacky weed, all right? DT, what's the difference between Arch Linux and its Arch root? And why do you use it? There's no real difference. You got a graphical installer. Other than that, it's pretty much 100% Arch. Why do I use it? It's because I installed Arco when I got this machine. If I hadn't installed something else and it was still working, I'd be running that distro. Because, as we've talked about earlier, the distros really don't matter, right? I'm not typically what I'm running is working. I'm going to stay on it. So before I installed Arch on this new computer I got last April, the machine I had before, I'd ran Manjaro for like the previous year of the channel. Everything was on Manjaro. Why? I installed Manjaro on that machine. And it didn't break or anything, so why wouldn't I just keep running Manjaro? Some of the strangest questions I get, though, are why am I not running whatever distribution on my main production machine? And it's weird. Like, again, they're all the same. Like, literally, they're all the same. They would look and feel and function exactly the same. If I wiped out Arco right now and installed, pick any of the top 100 distributions on DistroWatch. Tomorrow I would do a video, you guys would look at my desktop and it would look exactly the same. You would never know what I was running unless I told you. Reese, why is the video and audio out of sync? Is it? I'm actually not previewing the stream. I'm not previewing the audio. I mean, I'd have to. Well, I'll just have to take your word on it that it's out of sync. I don't think it's anything I could fix while streaming, anyway. But there are some things, especially streaming. Yeah, I don't know. Could be something on YouTube's end. But these live streams are not meant to be great content as far as professional audio, video quality and scripted content. Yeah, this is a live stream. Like if I really had something I was going to do and I was going to put some effort to make a proper video, you know, I wouldn't do it live. I'd pre-record it and edit it and all that. Typically I do these so I can interact with you guys, you know, get some community interaction. Yeah, everybody else says it's synced properly. Again, I'm not monitoring I have to have my machine here muted because I don't have earbuds or anything. Otherwise, we get feedback. So I don't know. But typically, this should not be a problem with me. But typically, when I see other streamers and they're badly out of sync as far as the video and audio while they're live streaming, a lot of times it's because they have a really bad machine they're trying to stream on, and their CPU is just completely choked out. Like, it can't handle what's being asked of it. That shouldn't be the case with me. My CPU is, you know, you guys know I have a Threadripper in this machine, so it should be fine. But every now and then you see those people that try to do a live stream on some 12-year-old machine that's got a Core 2 Duo or something like that, and don't even try to stream if you don't have a reasonably okay CPU. None of the AMD APUs are going to work for you. You know, I would say you need, I don't know, an i5 maybe, or better. You're talking about the Intel chips. For AMD, obviously, you need the modern Ryzen's work. Even the some of the Phenom chips. You know, if you had the hex core, the octa core of those, you could do okay. Maybe not in 1080p, but 720p. But that's usually the bottleneck. So any of you guys wanting to maybe start streaming on something like YouTube or Twitch, the big bottleneck for most machines is the CPU. You know, don't skimp out. If you're building your own machine, get the best CPU you can afford. It's going to save you so much heartache and pain. It's going to save you from all of that, because it's going to make your streaming much better. Even not streaming, if you're doing pre-recorded content, having a good CPU drastically reduces video rendering times, things like Kdenlive or whatever video editor you might use. On a really crappy CPU, like if I had some crappy 10-year-old quad core, you know, pick a processor, and I recorded a 15-minute video, edit it, and I need to render this 15-minute video in Kdenlive on one of those kinds of CPUs, those old ancient CPUs that are kind of obsolete now, have been for years. You know, it might take 7 hours for that video to render. My machine would be taken up using 100% of the CPU for 7 hours to render that 15-minute video. Where now, you know, I record, I edit, and this 15-minute video in length, you know, my Threadripper will render it in, you know, under 10 minutes instead of hours, like literally minutes. So yeah, don't skimp out on the CPU. Get the best CPU you can afford. Especially if what you're producing, if your video content or whatever it is you're doing it for work, or you make money, maybe it's a side gig, or, you know, they say time is money, right? Having a good CPU is going to save you so much time in so many areas. Yeah, what audio interface do you plug your mics into? Okay, well, we could talk a little bit about that. Somebody else was asking about the PC specs here. Got 12 core, 24 thread Threadripper, 64 gigs of RAM. The video card is Radeon 7. Yeah, that's really all you need, right? If you want more than that, as far as some of what's installed on the system, there's NeoFetch zoomed in. Now, moving on to the audio equipment. So this mic is, this is a RE27ND. This is a dynamic microphone. It is plugged in to a Natty preamp. That strip back there that you see that cord plugged into, and then you see it's got actually 8 slots. That's the preamp. And then from the preamp, it goes into a DBX 166XX. That is a limiter, expander, gate, compressor. And then from there, the bottom part goes into a EQ, the equalizer. That's a DBX equalizer. That is model 231S. And then from the EQ, it goes into a mixing board. That's a Mackie Pro FX12 mixer. And then from the mixer, of course, it goes into the computer. So if you were looking for the chain of events there. Mic, into the preamp, into the compressor, into the EQ, into the mixer, into the computer. DT, you're going to make some videos on bootloaders. The only bootloader I have ever used is Grub. Do you need a Grub video? Typically, when people ask me something like that, they want like systemd boot, you know, or systemd's bootloading. I don't know anything about it. Never use it. Like I'd have to dig in and really research that stuff to make a video for you guys, and I wouldn't use it. So I'm happy with Grub though. I think most people still use Grub anyway. Even if you're a kind of die-hard systemd fanboy, you're probably still using Grub. Kind of like the systemd timers. Nobody really uses them. Everybody uses cron jobs. Why? Because cron jobs are simple and they still work. And if that's what you know, you just keep using it. Why would you switch over to systemd trying to reinvent the wheel, right? Now, what brand motherboards are the most Linux friendly? You know, for me, I've never found any, as far as hardware. Linux supports pretty much everything. I mean, maybe some of you guys have had some different experiences, but as far as when we talk about motherboards and CPUs, I can't think of anything I've ever come across personally that Linux wouldn't run on. So if you're thinking about building your own computer, which is what I'm assuming is what you're thinking about doing here, don't worry about it. Any major brand of motherboard you buy. I'm using a ASRock. That's what I've got in this system. I forget the model. Might be the... I'm not exactly sure without actually looking in. I've got the box of of all my stuff handy here, but I have to get up and walk away to go get it. But yeah, you know, whatever motherboard you want to use, gigabytes, fine, yeah. Yeah, same thing with video cards. Yeah, they all work. When it comes to hardware, you, for the most part, at least when we're talking about building the computer, yeah, you're not going to have any issues with any of the hardware. When talking about desktops, you know, towers. Now, when you buy something off the shelf, especially laptops, you might want to investigate about the Wi-Fi driver that laptop is using. Although that's a lot better these days. Yeah, it was different when I switched to Linux. When I switched to Linux, Wi-Fi could be a major pain. That's not really the case now. Really, it's all so much better now. Appreciate the super chat there, Michael. Appreciate that, buddy. Hold on just a second here. I'm going to read your chat. Just a second, Michael, but somebody is letting me know the chat is frozen. I don't know how long that chat has been frozen, but let's see if we can unfreeze it. I don't know why this does freeze like this every now and then. but I can reload it. All right. Yeah, and Michael's chat. Yeah, beer money. Appreciate that. And we got that super chat there from Steven as well. And he says, thanks for the great content. Appreciate that, Steven. Much appreciated. All right, let's see if I can catch up on some of the chat. Yeah, the chat that you guys are watching on screen that sometimes freezes, it's a plugin in OBS called OBS Linux Browser. It's found in the AUR, the Arch user repository. So those of you on Arch-based systems that use OBS, that's the plugin. You can do some CSS, custom style sheets to get the colors and fonts and everything right. The only thing is, for some reason, it does freeze on occasion. I'm not exactly sure what causes the freezing. It might be something I'm doing. I don't know. But typically, I don't realize when it freezes, because unless I happen to be watching the OBS window, because that's where it appears. There's not actually a window somewhere with that chat that you guys are seeing. That is actually a scene in my OBS. That's the way that plugin works. All I do is I give it the URL from the pop-out chat from YouTube. When you do the pop-out chat, get the URL of that page and then plug it into the OBS Linux browser plugin, and then it displays this scene here. Yeah, have I ever tried Linux from scratch? I have not. Somebody earlier was asking, did I plan on ever doing a Linux from scratch video? Nah, I doubt too many people would find that compelling content anyway. So much of it's hours and hours of building stuff from source. And now, of course, I wouldn't record it all. But then, you're editing all of this video together. It'd be a lot of work, and I don't think too many people would find the content all that interesting. If you're the kind of person that was interested in that anyway, you probably know how to go about installing Linux from scratch, or you're at least the kind of person like me. I know I could go read the Linux from scratch manual and I could get it done. I know for me personally, being that kind of person though, I know I could go get the Linux from scratch manual and I could install it, even though I've never done it. I don't think I would ever watch a video of somebody doing it, because I just think that would be like watching paint dry. I really don't think. The other problem with Linux from scratch is it's not really a distribution. It's not a real Linux distribution you could live in. I know some people try to make it that, but it's really it's for educational purposes. It's basically an instruction manual to show you how Linux is really built from the ground up. And we're talking from the very base ground up. It's not like a Gentoo install. Unless you were doing like a stage 1 Gentoo install, which is kind of like Linux from scratch, where you're really starting from nothing. Yeah, don't use NVIDIA cards no matter what. That was probably somebody giving somebody hardware information. As far as on Linux, the NVIDIA graphics cards and the AMD graphics cards both work great in Linux. AMD is great if you want to use open source drivers rather than proprietary drivers. Using an NVIDIA card, you pretty much you have to use those proprietary drivers for NVIDIA. But the good thing is those proprietary drivers for NVIDIA, they're really good. As far as the NVIDIA cards are really fantastic, But you really can't go wrong with NVIDIA or AMD. if you were really one of those people, kind of like me, I try to stick with free and open source where possible. And then, yeah, it's an easy decision. Go to AMD. But many people, especially if they're buying high-end graphics cards, are probably gaming. You're playing proprietary games on Steam, which is a proprietary platform. You might as well get an NVIDIA card and install the proprietary NVIDIA drivers. I mean, at that point, there's no reason not to. Yeah, somebody was mentioning compiling a kernel. I remember doing some of that under Red Hat 6.22 years ago. Okay. Yeah, compiling kernels are not that complicated. I'm glad we typically don't do it. But, I mean, if you wanted to compile your own kernel, it's not really that complicated. Yeah, David says, display scaling is currently broken on Ubuntu 2004 on NVIDIA drivers, so I can't use my 4K screen. Yeah. I don't have any 4K monitors. That's another thing you guys often ask me about doing whatever on 4K or recording video in 4K, or how does DPI work with this and that. I don't have, that's one thing I haven't spent any real money on, is some of these nice modern monitors. I have 3 24-inch monitors. I have them set to 1920 by 1080 resolution on all 3. And these 3 monitors, this triple monitor system I bought the monitors maybe 6 years ago. I mean, it's been a while. I've had these monitors for a long time, and monitors have gotten a lot better since then. I've thought about buying some new monitors, for getting some better displays, just because, hey, I'm in front of the computer all day anyway. It might be easier on the eyes to have some of these fancy monitors. The only reason I do that, I haven't done that, is there's nothing wrong with these monitors I'm using, as far as there's no dead pixel, there's nothing wrong with the image on them. So I've got these 3 monitors. I mean, what am I going to do with them? Just give them away to friends or family, or donate them to charity or whatever? It's just strange to have 3 24-inch monitors that look kind of nice, and I'm replacing them just because I want to go to the latest and greatest. Yeah, the display rate is 60 hertz on these monitors. Yeah, because of their age. Yeah, that's pretty much what they have to be. Yeah. There wasn't anything. Well, 6 years ago there might have been some monitors that were better than that, but yeah, 60 hertz was standard back then. I appreciate the super chat. That's from Strife. Yeah, thanks for the hard work, DT, making my night at work interesting. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's kind of an impromptu stream. I really had nothing planned. Really wasn't planning on making any content, so I thought we'd just stream and chat here. Tokyo, Japan. DT, can you stop the hate towards proprietary? We are on a proprietary platform right now. Isn't that hypocritical? Well, you don't have to watch me on a proprietary platform. The great thing about my videos is they are all available on distrotube.com, on library.tv, which is a free and open source platform. Also, people sometimes think you guys have to watch YouTube videos on YouTube, even if I wasn't on these alternative platforms. Say I was only on YouTube. And there are many YouTubers you guys probably follow that are only on YouTube. They don't sync their content to Library or BitChute or anywhere else. You don't have to watch YouTube videos on YouTube. You can use something like YouTube DL to download the video to your local machine and then just watch it in MPV. You can use, what was the YouTube viewer I did a video on a few weeks back? There's several of these types of programs out there. So I often get people, hey man, I don't want to watch you on YouTube. Well, don't. I mean, I put my videos on YouTube because most people that watch videos are on YouTube. Like most of my viewership, obviously, is going to be from YouTube. But I don't want to be on YouTube either, as far as like when I watch other people's content. If they're on an alternative, a free platform, yeah, I'll watch it on library or wherever. But what was that video player? It was free and open source. It's probably in the repos. I know it had a snap pack available. It's going to take me a second to find it. I think it was called Olivia, now that I think about it. I may not be able to find it. I think I went too far back. Let me just do a search. What am I doing scrolling? I think it was called Olivia. Yeah, the Olivia Cloud Music Player. That allowed you to watch YouTube in this player. And it used YouTube DL, I believe, as a backend. You don't have to watch YouTube videos actually on YouTube. You can actually just watch them straight in your media player, whether it be MPV, VLC. There are various cloud players that'll rip that stuff straight from YouTube without you ever logging into or even touching the YouTube site. So you don't have to worry about the tracking, all the nasty and evil stuff that the YouTube site may be doing. And typically the people that ask this kind of question about YouTube is a proprietary platform, when you're making me watch your videos on this proprietary, come on, if you're asking this question, you don't have to be on YouTube to watch YouTube videos. You don't, right? You know some other ways to watch YouTube. I hope you do. If you don't, I need to do a better job of explaining that maybe in the future. I have to be careful though about that. Like talking about something like YouTube DL, YouTube hates that. Like they typically take videos down about that. They don't even, want you to mention YouTube DL in a video. They don't want people to know that tool exists. Because it allows people, obviously, to watch YouTube without being on YouTube, which means you didn't get to watch an ad on YouTube, which means YouTube didn't make any money. So they don't like it when people try to circumvent their ad network. Yeah, put your old monitors in the kitchen or in the bathroom. That's not I could repurpose them for something else. You're right about that. But I don't have a need for them right at the... But if I ever come up with one, yeah, then that might be the catalyst. That might be the spark that makes me buy some new monitors. If I can come up with something to do with these old monitors. Right now, I can't think of anything that I really need. Yeah, Musica Monarchy says, I don't know how to watch YouTube without YouTube. Okay, well, I just mentioned the Olivia Cloud Player. That's an easy... Are you on Linux? Let's start with your operating system. If you're on Linux, go watch my video on Olivia Cloud Music Player. It's available as a snap, so you can install it on any distro. Distro agnostic. And then it has a search. You can search YouTube from that cloud music player and then play the video or the audio only if you don't need the video, but if you want the video, you can watch it in the cloud music player in Olivia. You can even tell Olivia to download it for you to your local machine because it just uses YouTube DL as a backend anyway. So it has that functionality too, where it'll just download the video to your local machine and then you can watch it in MPV or VLC or whatever media player. Other than that, there are a dozen other ways to watch YouTube without being on YouTube. Again, I don't know how YouTube likes people talking about these things, but there are other sites out there that basically mirror YouTube's content, where you can go watch a YouTube video without being on YouTube. So, I will let you investigate that further. Just a couple of minutes, though, doing a search, and you'll figure some of that out. Or maybe some of the guys in the chat, in the YouTube chat, will mention it. I'm gonna avoid me mentioning it though. Again, just for I don't want this video once the stream's over. I don't want YouTube to take this stream or the video down. Not that this was an important video. I mean, we really didn't do much on this stream, but yeah, Mr. Daylight says, yeah, I just mentioned that, but it got censored moderated because I put a link to this stream as an example. Okay. That was Mr. Daylight. Mr. Daylight, what I'm going to do, I am going to make you a moderator. You are now a moderator in the YouTube chat. Post that link. It'll now let you post a link. By default, YouTube chat won't let anybody post a link unless they're a moderator. Otherwise, you know, we'd be bombarded with spam bots, right? Yeah, so DT, what do you like about Mastodon? That's a friendly community. I love Mastodon. So much better than Twitter and Facebook and all that garbage. It's just a nice community, at least on my instance. I'm on mastodon.technology, and it's mostly, you know, Linux and tech related, a lot of free and open source talk. Of course, some people, proprietary software developers. You know, a lot of good chat goes on here, and I've got you know, 2,600 followers. So a lot of you guys are following me over on Mastodon. So many of you guys, at least I assume if so many of you guys are over there following me on Mastodon, have found Mastodon an acceptable social media platform. I think it's fantastic. I think it's better than any of the alternatives. Definitely better than things like Facebook and Twitter. I think it's better than many of the other free alternatives as well. And it's growing. Getting so much more popular every day. You see more and more people on it. Mastodon is it's almost mainstream. It's not there yet, but Mastodon has gotten to the point now it's almost mainstream. Like you see like real celebrities, politicians, and people like that now starting to use Mastodon. So we're way past, you know, just getting off the ground now. You know, Mastodon is almost there. Yeah. And Ali says, yeah, it would be a cool project to host your Mastodon instance. I've thought about it, but the problem with that is then people, I mean, I'd have to make sure that that instance was constantly running, right? No downtime, because that's frustrating. Nobody wants to be on a Mastodon instance if it's constantly down. I mean, I'd have to spend some time on it. And what would be the point? You know, what's the benefit of that other than it's just fun to set up a Mastodon server? But what happens? I'm going to put it on some cheap hosting. I mean, I can't spend a lot of money hosting this Mastodon instance. Unless some of you guys are going to chip in too. But even if you guys were willing to do that and we set up this Mastodon instance, what happens if this Mastodon instance ever failed? And we basically just lost all our accounts, right? And that has happened to some Mastodon instances in the past. Who would get the blame for that? I would get the blame for that. I don't need that kind of headache, right? I agree. It would be a cool project, but I just don't have the time for that kind of stuff. Because I would have to spend some time on it to do it right. I mean, I would have to constantly be checking on that server. And if any kind of issues crop up, I have to go fix it right away, all right? All right, back to the chat here. I know I missed some stuff here. I missed a super chat earlier. I might have missed more than one. Let's see if I can find it. Mark, appreciate the super chat. Mark sent in this. He says, love your work, mate. Hi from Australia. Appreciate that, Mark. And the time of the stream in Australia, this should be a good time of the day for you guys. I know for our European friends, in the middle of the night, or, you know, in the AM hours, so many of them can't join us. It's always tough, you know, planning when to do a live stream. You can't pick a good time zone for everybody. I pick a good time zone for our friends in Australia and New Zealand, and our friends in Europe are all in bed. So. All right, let's see what I missed here. Yeah, Jumper says, you said NixOS is a meme. What makes you think that? Also, what about the Nix, the package manager? Okay. Oh, the Nix package manager? It's an interesting project. I actually installed it. Not recently. I've played with it a little bit. As far as NixOS, the reason I think it's a meme, I think a lot of people that are running it, it's a neat operating system and it has a purpose. It has a purpose. But I think a lot of people that are using it are not using it because they really have a reason to use it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, you know, this is not everybody, but say Gentoo. Gentoo is this source-based distribution. You're building everything from source. And it's time-consuming. Most people don't want to actually take the time to properly set up all the use flags and everything like that in Gentoo. A lot of people just want to install Gentoo and run it just to say, I run Gentoo, right? I think some of that goes on with NixOS. Let's see. Yeah, DT, well, I'm still here. It's prime time for EU Linux users, is it? Okay. I think you're up a little late today, Big Bud. Yeah, it's 3 a.m. in Ireland. That's what I thought. And DT, I know you play music. Do you, or did you, ever compose? Of course, I've got some of my own compositions somewhere around. I wonder if I've got any on my system from... I haven't actually written anything in years, but I'm not exactly sure if I still have some of my stuff. Some of my original... I'm going to look around for a minute here. Hopefully this won't take too long, but let's see if I can find... I may not have anything anymore. I don't know where any of this stuff would be on my system, or if I... Yeah. I'm not seeing it. I thought maybe I had some stuff. Oh well. If I had some of my original compositions, because I'd had some of them and had some recordings of some of them, we would have played some of it. That was a good question, though. I wish I had some of it, though. Hope I didn't lose any of it, like permanently lost it. I'm sure I've got backups on drives somewhere, though. Or actually on physical media like DVD or CD. I know nobody uses CDs anymore, but I bet I do have some of that on CD. Yeah. It's 4 a.m. in Europe, where you're at, Big Bud. Yeah. DT, why do you use GitLab instead of GitHub? Because I moved to GitLab to try GitLab. Let's see. Play your composition in Rose Garden. Well, if I could have found some of my original compositions, I would have, but I don't know if I actually have them on the hard drive of this machine, so... If I would have found them, I would have played something for you. I would have, even if I had to play them, you know, as MIDI. All right. Yeah, the FBI says, hey, DT. Okay, appreciate that. Hey, DT, what's up? Says Oscar. All right. All right. Before I go, I know we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here. I am going to check and see if I do have any of those compositions handy. I do have a hard drive, an external hard drive. Here, I'm going to do a quick search on my system on that external hard drive just to see. Many of those original compositions were written many years ago. I mean, you're talking, some of them were written back in, mid-90s. Like we're talking about, some of them I might have even backed up to floppy drives. Like I've got stuff going that far back. Let's see. Okay. Now on this external hard drive, I did find some of my stuff. All right. I have no idea. I don't think I can show you the written actual sheet music because these were originally written in Finale on Macs back when I was in college. So can't show you the actual sheet music because I didn't save them as something like a PDF. They're still in the original Finale formats. But I did export all the compositions to MP3s. They're MIDI recordings as MP3s. So let me just play one of them. So this one here looks like it was, I don't know, all it says is this is a string quartet. Is what I wrote it for, but I don't know. All right, so at least there was something there. Yeah, I don't know. And the problem without being able to open these up in Finale, I probably dated them all, but I don't know when that was originally written by me. It was 20 years ago, probably. Yeah, somebody meant, yeah, nice counterpoint. Yeah, the very beginning, was basically, just a 4-part counterpoint, right? It was almost like a canon between the 4-string instruments. So if we go back to the beginning of that, yeah, good catch on the counterpoint. Yeah. So in the chat, yeah, DT, do you still have your awesome window manager configs? Well, of course. I have awesome window manager on my computer. Yeah, of course I have my configs. Check the show description for my GitLab. You will find all my configs in my .files repository on my GitLab. You will find my awesome window manager configs. All right. Man, I have a lot of stuff actually backed up here. A lot of these. I don't know what some of them are. So I don't know. I don't even know if some of these are any good. Like I have something here called This is a MIDI file. Let's see if it'll actually play. Not. No. That might be the only one I can play. I don't think I have any other MP3s on the system. Yeah. So unfortunately, I have a ton of stuff in this folder backed up from my college days as far as compositions, but they're not in a format that I could actually play as far as audio. So, that's too bad. What I would have to do, and I probably need to do this actually, what I need to do is install Windows in a VM and try to find an old version of Finale that's compatible with when I wrote all of that stuff and install it in a VM in Windows and try to export all that stuff as best I can, or at least convert it to PDFs or something where I can at least have the sheet music and I can go back and rewrite it in something more friendly to what I'm using these days. I don't compose that often, but yeah, I could rewrite it in something like a Lily Pond or some of the open source stuff. Yeah, so lots of streamers have low volume BGM. Not sure what BGM is. You'd have to clue me in on that. Background music? Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. Yeah. Mozart, Bach, and DT. Yeah. Do like me some Mozart. Love me some Bach. And Big Pie. DT, not a classic music guy, but I could listen to that. Yeah. Yeah, pretty simple little tune. Kind of has a Irish kind of feel to it. That particular, I actually remember when I wrote that now. And I wrote that not as a serious piece of music. I wrote that as a demonstration as I was teaching another student. Something compositional wise. And I actually just came up with that theme. Yeah, and did all this. I wrote that in no lie in like 5 minutes. It wasn't complicated. I wish I could say it was, but I did it for educational reasons. Yeah, and Calder is asking, what instruments do I play? Trombone is my main instrument. So trombone, you can find videos of me playing the trombone, I think, on the channel. At least one video of me playing live. On some of my past videos, I have played me playing the trombone as far as recorded me playing the trombone. I play all of the brass instruments, though. I mean, I don't know if I could play them today, but I'm good with the brass instruments. Some of the woodwinds. Piano. And of course the recorder. I was just trying to remember what that song was. Thought maybe I could pick it out by ear. I was kind of close. Anyway. I don't have perfect pitch or anything, but usually I can hear something and kind of pick it out. But there were some people I went to school with. Some people are just naturally like that. It's not something you can really train yourself for. But some people have what's called perfect pitch, where they remember tones, like musical pitches. And once they hear, B flat on a piano or C on a piano or all the notes, they will forever, the rest of their life, in their head and in their ear, know what that sound is an A, that sound is an F, that sound is an F sharp. And it's weird, the people like that. It's really freaky. You can be envious of these people too. I mean, I could just pick out like 3 or 4 keys on a piano and play a random chord for some of these people, and they could tell you, oh yeah, that's F, G, B flat, and D flat. You know, those was the 4 keys I just happened to slap down on the piano. And it's freaky. Now, the downside to that is I've had people that did have perfect pitch is sometimes you get in a situation where I like piano players, especially if you're playing an electronic piano. You know, you learn to play something, and maybe you're playing a tune with somebody, you know, a duet or concerto or sonata or something, and then they want to change the key. Well, on an electronic piano, what you could do, you could still play it in the key you learned it in, but just change the pitch. But if you have perfect pitch, you can't do that because you're hitting keys and you're expecting notes to come out that are not those notes, and you can't do it. So perfect pitch is one of those things that it's really cool, the people that can do it, but it can hinder them in some ways as well. Yeah, DT, how often do you browse G? Not that often. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've stumbled across something on G, on 4chan, that was a decent conversation as far as educational in some way. Like the platform could be good, but most of the conversations that go on there, you're not going to get any real information about anything. Like typically when I browse the internet, I'm looking for more educational kind of content. Same thing with Reddit. Reddit is a cesspool for the most part, but you find the right places on Reddit. Some subreddits, you know, have good information about whatever topic you might be looking for. But 4chan is a little different. You know, it's hard to come across anything anywhere in any chan on 4chan. And it is more than just memes and toxicity. Derek, when I use your configs like your OpenBox config, it messes up many things like icons, broken links. I guess it requires many things to install before using your config. Well, if you're using my config, you have to make sure that you're using, if you have to make sure you're using the GTK theme I was using, the icons I was using, the fonts I was using, yeah. People often ask this about all my configs, like if you're going to download my Alacrity config. My Alacrity config expects you to have Mononoke nerd font on the system. If it's not installed on your system, you need to install it, or you need to change that setting to a font you do have. Or you happen to install my Xmonad config, maybe my Xmobar config. My Xmobar config, I don't know what font this is in my Xmobar. I think it might be Ubuntu Mono. I think that's what I originally set it to years ago. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, obviously you have to have those fonts on the system or it won't work. That icon, that's an actual image. It's saved on my system. If you didn't have that icon and you were using my Xmobar config, obviously that icon wouldn't be there. Yeah, so yeah, obviously my configs work, right? If they work for me, my configs work. If they're not working for you, yes, that means absolutely you're missing something. Yeah, DT, have you lived in Louisiana all your life? I have not. I've been around the U.S. a little bit. So I went to university actually in 3 different states. So I went to what was Northeast Louisiana University. Now it's the University of Louisiana at Monroe, here in Monroe, Louisiana. Actually where I was born. That's where I got my bachelor's degree. Then I went to Ohio University for my master's degree. That's in Athens, Ohio. Spent 2 years there. And then I moved to Denton, Texas, just north of Dallas, Denton. Went to the University of North Texas, where I worked on a PhD for a little bit. Lived there for 2 years. never completed the PhD, and at this point I have no interest in ever completing that. At that point, when I had left school, I'd been going to school like 9 years. Yeah, there. Mr. Daylight says there's people who can tell you what you're typing from the sounds of the key presses. Huh. Getting back to, I guess, the perfect pitch conversation. DT, if there was a tool for cleaning up your home dot files, would you use it? Cleaning up in what way? I'm not sure. Not sure why my dot files would need to be cleaned up. If you're asking about maybe some config files that are there that the programs for those are no longer installed on the system, there are tools I think that already do that. Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to tell me a little more what you're trying to do. Let's see. Do you really think that i3 sucks? I don't know who you were asking that to. If you were asking that to me, I don't think i3 sucks. So I don't know. You probably were asking that to somebody else, though. Let's see. Hey, DD, I don't know if that's good, but I always leave your videos on when I go to sleep because they help me fall asleep faster. That's cool. Alright, guys. Well, we have been streaming for over 2 hours, and I really wasn't planning on being on quite this long, so we're going to kill the stream. To end the stream, I think we should do the free software song on recorder. I think that's the only way to do this. So, let's see if I can find the free software on PDF. I wonder if I could play it with me and Richard singing it. I don't know what me and Richard are singing in, though. Now, that would be cool. We got the sheet music. Let's see. Ah, there it is. Share the software, the free software song with me and Richard. Let me put in my earbuds, and if I can pick out the pitch that we're actually singing this in, I might can play along with the recorder as well. We'll make it a trio. Of course, there may be no real pitch here because Richard was just singing it without instrumental accompaniment, so I don't know. Maybe he has perfect pitch, though. Give us a beat, Richard. I like it. That's tight. Join us now and share the software. You'll be free. Hackers, you'll be free. Join us now and share the software. I got it. Or something reasonably close. I like it. That's tight. Yeah, that's it. Join us now and share the software. You'll be free. Hackers, you'll be free. Join us now and share the software. You'll be free. Hackers, you'll be free. I like it. Hoarders can get piles of money. That is true. Hackers, that is true. But they cannot help their neighbors. That's not good. Hackers, that's not good. Last time with me singing along.
When we have enough free software at our call.
Everybody.
Hackers at our call. We'll kick out those dirty licenses evermore. Hackers evermore.
The first verse one more time.
Join us now and share the software. You'll be free. Hackers, you'll be free. Join us now and share the software. You'll be free. Hackers, you'll be free.
Thank you, Richard. Oh, that was hideously out of tune. Of course, Richard was not singing with instruments, so there's really no telling what kind of key he was singing in. Probably wasn't exactly tuned to A440. Anyway, I know that was some serious cringe there at the end. I really didn't expect that to work, but since I could pick out the key, I figured I'd play along with me and Richard. Just quickly, let me catch up with the super chats before I go. We got Deepak. It says, DT taught me an Arch Linux. Thanks. Taught me to install Arch Linux. Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm glad you got it working. Random Mechanicus guy says, get us Bloat. Just bring your team over to your house and push their commits to your machine. I've been thinking about Git alternatives. Now, everybody uses Git, but I've thought about different version control systems, but I don't know. We may cover that at a later date. McFrizzle Fries says, recorder is Bloat. No. And Augustin, he didn't leave a comment, but thank you for the super chat. All right, guys. Appreciate all that. Of course, before I go, let me thank the patrons here. I need to thank all these names you guys are seeing on the screen right now. Without these guys, this really crazy live stream where I sang with Richard and played the recorder with Richard, it wouldn't have been possible. All these guys, they're also partly responsible for this cringe tier content that you guys got to see tonight. All right, guys. Peace.